Mr. Dennis Leung. Deputy President, I speak in support of the Appropriation Bill 2026. This year's budget is themed on driving high-quality inclusive growth with innovation and finance. Given the improved fiscal position of the government shows determination to promote economic transformation. Also, there are responses to calls for more welfare measures. However, we have to be aware that on employees' benefits and interests as well as manpower resources planning, there is room for the government to make improvement. I'm going to touch on 8 areas. First, overall finance. $2.9 billion of fiscal surplus is achieved this year, and fiscal reserve reaches $68 billion. I support the government in consolidating finances. However, making sure fiscal robustness is not an excuse to scrap measures. The government is earmarking $150 billion from the exchange fund to support infrastructure development. This is the first time that the government makes such a move. The government must clearly explain that it can continue to safeguard financial stability of the exchange fund and that it should make sure that jobs are for the local workers first. Second, there are funds earmarked for promoting AI education in primary and secondary schools. The government is moving with times in this regard. However, I'm worried that the education sector is not ready for this. There should be subsidies for teachers to take AI-relevant courses. There should be a professional development ladder for local teachers as well. The study on Hong Kong brand is a good idea, but the resources should not skew towards one group of students. There needs to be hostels as well as regulation over the rental level for students. Thirdly, new industrialization and INT development. The budget rolled out an elite scheme to train up personnel for new industrialization. I support these schemes. However, INT development often gives rise to senior or high positions, and those in the grassroots or in junior positions, they cannot benefit. I think there should be local employment clauses incorporated into agreements that we signed in the loop to make sure that there is enough training for local workers. I'm also worried that with the popularization of AI, some jobs will be displaced. So there should be a cross-departmental working group to study the impacts brought by AI so as to give support to those who are affected. Also, on CSSA as well as disability allowance recipients, there is an extra month for these recipients. For those who work very hard, they do not see a pay rise of 4%, so I hope the government could study how it can offer more support to income earners. With the structural change in our demographics as well as aging population, the government must come up with a sustainable plan. This can help encourage people to increase their productivity. $4 billion are reserved to support the victims in the Wangfuk Court fire. The government should explain the details of how it uses the fund. Also, the ERB is going to be upgraded into Upskill Hong Kong, and AI training will be offered. This is the right direction. A lot of local workers aged 45 or above, they are not familiar with how to use the computer. So there should be different levels of training so that they could start increasing their digital literacy. And there should be a cap of $30,000 for continuous study fund. As for the retraining allowance, I think an extra 8-month or 24-month incentives should be reserved to encourage people to join the scheme. Also, for employees, Well, there is the MPF portability scheme, and the first phase will be rolled out, and there is a mechanism in place to recover default in MPF contribution. However, the government fell short of explaining how it would help low-income people make contributions. Also, it's been 13 and 15 years respectively for the government to review the MPF scheme as well as the other provident scheme. The government should review it. On paternity leave, it should be extended to 7 days. There should also be progressive tax allowances for children. As for recovering MPF contributions, it is important, but there should be an express mechanism to approve the Solvency Protection Fund. This is to protect employers. Also, on housing development, the coming few years, there will be 200,000 units to be supplied, and this is over 80% of the target promised by the government. However, I am concerned about the cap on the area of subsidized housing as well as public housing. The cap is set at 26 square meters. We should phase out micro units. The government should roll out measures for the sandwich class as well as the middle class so that they would not lower their productivity in order to get into the public housing market. We need measures to boost productivity and revive the economy. Also, on dovetailing with the 15th Five-Year Plan, this year marks the inaugural year of the National 15th Five-Year Plan, and the CE said we will formulate a 5-year plan. This means that Hong Kong will have to not just integrate into the national development, but also serve our country. I agree to the 10 positions of Hong Kong, that is the 10 centers that we need to build. To formulate the 5-year plan, the government should invite trade unions as well as SME representatives to take part in the consultation to make sure that the 5-year plan can respond to our needs on housing, retirement protection, and so on. Overall speaking, this year's budget, under the situation of improved fiscal position, it focuses on promoting INT and improving people's benefits. However, in the long run, for grassroots workers as well as protection for employees, we're still waiting for more good news from the government. I'm a member of the FTU. I will continue to speak on education, new industrialization, INT, social welfare, manpower resources, housing development, as well as our participation in the National 15th Five-Year Plan in the various electoral panels. We are at the critical juncture of economic restructuring. The government must jump on the bandwagon and seize the opportunity. We need development, we need outcome, and we need a good future. The FTU will continue to support grassroots workers and monitor the implementation of the various measures set out in the budget. We hope the government can make sure that there are sustainable public finances and that there will continue to be productivity. We need to make sure that each and every one of us can share the fruit of our development. Then we can move steadily forward. Thank you.
多謝主席。
Ms. Christine Fong. Thank you, President. I now speak on the Appropriation Bill 2026. I support it. I think that this budget caters to the needs and livelihood of the people while make sure that we can develop over the long term healthily. When the government implement various measures, we need to exercise discipline, make sure that our resources is spent well. Different government departments need to take a step forward and be practical in implementing various policies. The Wanfo Court incident have raised people awareness on building management. The Development Bureau have set aside some $3 billion on the OBB 2.0, and some $300 billion have been spent on enhancing the smart tender of the Urban Renewal Authority. Now, $200 million is to be spent on offering concessions to owner making use of smart tender. $100 million is to be spent on engaging a consultant by the URA to help as residential developments hire consultant. This will help owners of 3 new buildings so that they can recruit contractors in a more competitive way. The government have also set aside some $1 billion to enhance or implement the lift modernization program. This will alleviate the burden of the owners of old buildings. The government has also set aside some $3.98 billion for the Fire Services Department to enhance the SS installations. We need to spend our public money well. I ask the Fire Services Department to implement a regular random inspection mechanism, review the means of escape and fire services installations at various buildings to answer to people's requests. Owners of old buildings worry about the safety issues. We need to, while we increase our budget or increase our estimates, there is a cut on the establishment of civil service. I wonder if this will increase the burden of our frontline officers and, in turn, lower the quality of service. The government need to assess the allocation of manpower. As we integrate into the Greater Bay Area, we may have to converge our fire services standards with that of the Greater Bay Area. This is how we can enhance a collaboration with other cities in the Greater Bay Area. Regarding fire services installations, there are 2 types of it. We have active and passive installations. Smoke doors are managed by different departments, and this has become a loophole for law enforcement. I think that the government should promote cross-departmental patrol or inspection mechanism so that we can solve all the potential issues. I'd like to also talk about the 3 treasures for fire safety, including fire blanket, fire extinguisher, and independent fire sensors. I hope that the government will speed up the implementation of a detection system and modernize the fire safety systems in Hong Kong. There is no bystander to fire safety. We cannot rely solely on firefighters. We have to make sure that all fire service installation are in good order, and we need to make sure that our fire alarm system work. In recent years, the government have been improving toilets at hiking trails to make it more convenient for travelers to go to the rural areas, and the tourism board have set aside some $1.66 billion to enhance our attractiveness. Sai Kung have a geopark, and we have the East Dam. This will promote local tourism. Now, I also support the scheme to encourage young people to develop, and the relevant scheme have supported over 10,000 students. And we have also set aside an extra $180 billion for the Child Development Fund. Starting from next year, the community service vouchers for elderly will increase by 16,000, and we are going to set aside some $3 billion for that. We are also going to increase the number of institutions covered by the Guangdong scheme to 26. I hope that the government will continue to develop the silver economy and silver-haired market. We're going to dovetail with the 15 five-year plan. And in our Hong Kong's 5-year plan, we're going to cover land, housing, retirement, healthcare, education. In order for us to develop into an international financial center, we need to lower the entrance cost, speed up the development, or we need to explore new markets and consolidate our status as the largest offshore renminbi hub. We need to enhance the competitiveness. We need to enact a dedicated legislation for the Northern Metropolis. The government is transferring some $150 billion from the Exchange Fund to the Capital Works Reserve Fund to support the Northern Metropolis and other infrastructures projects. At the Hong Kong Park in Hetao, we have this INT Park and the Life and Health R&D Center. It has the funding of some $6 billion from the government. The administration is also going to spend some $220 million to build a national manufacturing innovation center in Yunlong. Apart from playing a role as a superconnector, more importantly, we need to enhance our industry so that our people can share the fruit of our success. As a representative of the southeastern new territories, I am very much concerned about the $128 billion that we're going to spend on infrastructure system that include the replacement of mains, sewage, the I-Park is Shaku Chao, the Trunk Road T4 is Sha Tin, the Anderson ex-quarry site transformation, so on and so forth. I so submit I support the Appropriation Bill. Ms. Jeannie Mann. President, over the past 3 years, we have recorded substantial deficit. The government have implemented various measures to save money, and we're going to record surplus in our operating account in the next 5 years. This is very encouraging. However, we don't have that many relief measures in the budget this year. We don't have any particular policies that favor the middle class or sandwich class families. We may have raised concessions for them, but every year they are going to only save a few $100s. I know that the relief measures need to be targeted, but over the past few years, the government was trying to save money. The middle class did not benefit from the budget. As we invest in the future, we need to share the fruits of our prosperity with the people so that they have confidence with our future. In the last year, the U.S. staged a tariff war. There is trade conflicts globally. The only way out is to dovetail with the national development and the 15 five-year plan. We need to leverage on artificial intelligence and INT so that we can consolidate and enhance our role as an external window for our country and our position as an international metropolis. This budget covers many different areas, including artificial intelligence, education, public services, new industries. AI and technology can definitely enhance or help industries transform and upgrade, but that will displace many clerical work and non-technical positions. These employees may lose their jobs. We always say that we need to seize the opportunities in this AI era, but we need to make sure that people's livelihood will not be affected as our industries transform. I think that the government need to plan ahead so that there will not be a new round of unemployment. AI and technology is meant to improve our lives, not to widen the income gap. Regarding education, I think that we need to provide more training for our teachers on digital education. In order to teach our students about AI, the teachers themselves need to know what it is. So I fully support the budget in setting aside some $2 billion to fund the Quality Education Fund to promote digital education in primary and secondary schools. Apart from providing training by the government on its own, maybe they can fund the NGOs to offer courses to teachers. Regarding healthcare services, I recognize the government's efforts on life and health technology. Next year, we're going to establish the International Clinical Academy, and this will help Hong Kong develop into an international healthcare innovation hub. This will help us build a life and health industry in Hong Kong and enhance our healthcare level. People will be the ones to benefit. The government is going to inject $500 million into the Chinese Medicine Development Fund. In order for us to develop this Chinese medicine industry, we need to have a pool of talents. Given the average salary of Chinese medicine practitioners in Hong Kong is not attractive enough for young people to join the field because they need to spend 6 years completing the degree program and before they can obtain a license. So I think that we need to set in salary indicators for Chinese medicine practitioners. I also think that we need to inject resources into primary health care. The government is covering more illnesses and disease in our primary health care system. This will lower the cost on healthcare. This is good for our people. I think that the government can be more aggressive by including more diseases and illnesses and lower the age threshold for chronic disease scheme. Hong Kong people live a stressful life, and very often they suffer from many diseases such as high blood pressure or stroke early on and as they are young. We're aging, and I support the government extending the elderly healthcare voucher pilot scheme to the end of 2026. This will encourage our elderly to undergo body check early and identified illnesses in time. I think that we should regularize the scheme. Over the long run, this will lower our expenditure on public health care. In last year's budget, it is said that under the Productivity Enhancement Program, welfare organizations need to lower their expenditure by 2%. But given the high cost and increasing manpower expenditure, it's difficult for the welfare organizations to cut their budget. The ones to be affected will be the underprivileged. Today, we are recording a surplus. So I think that the government should review the relevant productivity enhancement program to allow welfare organizations to maintain their budget. I support the elderly community care vouchers, but the application procedures is very complicated. So it seems, well, given the fact that elderly rely on government services, I think that we need to streamline the application procedures for them. We need to leverage on different industries that we have to train our students. Say, for example, we are developing Hong Kong into a high-end art trading platform. We are subsidizing the Art Basel for staging the exhibitions here, and we're going to have it in Hong Kong for the next 5 years. Apart from earning money from auction, I think that we can use it to train our students. The entrance fee for Art Basel is not cheap. And I think that is beneficial for Hong Kong students to visit these exhibitions. This will help our art development. Given the geopolitical tensions and the heightened economic risks, there is uncertainties posed to our business environment. We need to leverage on the advantages that we have. We need to play a role as a super connector. I shall submit.
Mr. Tang Fei. President, well, this year's budget provides a basis for sustainable finance. It also actively dovetails with the National 15th Five-Year Plan. Now, for recurrent education spending, it accounts for 11% of total government spending. The budget also proposes the promotion of digital education and making Hong Kong an international education hub and deepening collaboration with the industries. This can dovetail with the national strategy. It also makes Hong Kong an international education hub. I'm concerned about three aspects. First, on Northern Metropolis University Town, this dovetails with the national strategy of making our country a strong education nation. Now, apart from excelling in the education sector, we want to take up a higher role and be the frontier of our country as an high caliber talent hub. So when it comes to the Northern Metropolis University Town, it's not just about building campuses and expanding the campuses. We need the holistic planning to help our universities conduct research and development on some state-of-the-art technology such as AI and aerospace economy. Now, we are just a city. It's very difficult to break bottlenecks, but more importantly, we need to be able to serve our country's overall development plan of technological self-reliance. The government should consider allowing research personnel or institutions to collaborate, and that for overseas institutions and personnel, they should be given priority to come to Hong Kong and set a presence in Northern Metropolis. It's like a scoring system for immigrants. That way, we can attract the top-notch research personnel from overseas so that they work in our institutions. We also need to drop KPIs. The second point is to expand student admission. This can help develop Hong Kong into an international education hub and bring new impetus to the post-secondary education sector. We are on the brink of more class closures because of the low birth rate. We need to quicken our pace in recruiting students. We're not opening up fully to students in the mainland, Macau, and Taiwan. The Policy Address 2025, referring to a direct subsidy school scheme, is a good start, but it's just happening on a small scale. It covers students abroad. It doesn't cover what we call the MMT students. That's students from mainland, Macau, and Taiwan. So basically, for mainland students to study here, they can only rely on the various talent admission schemes, and they come on the strength of a dependent visa. It's difficult to plan because of the uncertainty. It's difficult to project the number of mainland students or non-local students in every class and form. Now we have just a dozen schools with hostels among the 1,000 secondary and primary schools. The number is just a drop in the ocean. This is a major bottleneck for attracting non-local students at the secondary level. So we need to build more dormitories, hostels. But when it comes to elementary education, these young people are usually living with their families. So, drawing on the experience of other advanced economies, the government should consider allowing certain dependent visas. That is to allow the parents or grandparents of the students to come and look after them so as to promote healthy development. Well, this is also one way of attracting families that are better off to come and settle in Hong Kong and to support the Study in Hong Kong brand. Now, these students may further their studies elsewhere. They may not take forward development in Hong Kong, but that's all right because they have the opportunity of growing up in Hong Kong and being included in our society. This can help them tap network and get exposure of other cultures. So the first step for the government is to study the option of recruiting non-local students on a full cost recovery basis so that they can study in our not only the direct subsidy schools but aided schools as well. Non-local students should include students from the mainland, Macau, and Taiwan. And the second suggestion is dependent visas. As I said, we can draw reference from other advanced economies. They have a very mature system. I want to emphasize that when it comes to study in Hong Kong and developing this economy, we need to make sure that this is not a business for schools to make a profit. Rather, through attracting students to study in Hong Kong, we can benefit other associated industries such as accommodation, F&B, retail, etc. So that whilst grooming talents, we can also, through such an arrangement, benefit different sectors and our economy as a whole. This can also help improve our demographic structure. The other point is about support for SEN students. Special schools, SEN students. We're talking about different pathways. For those with physical or intellectual disabilities, they study in special schools. When it comes to autistic children, that is ASD, ADHD students, they have special educational needs. They are called SEN students. So there are separate queues. In fact, these two queues are getting longer. That is, those queuing up for special schools and those requiring additional SEN support. In this council, we went through the relevant data. And we also have integrated education in Hong Kong. We need to provide early identification and support services to this crucial group. For example, for those suffering from ADHD, they might not be diagnosed in a timely manner. They might be mistaken as being naughty and not being attentive in class. But in fact, they need extra attention and they need counseling in their personal growth. We have the 3-tier school-based emergency response mechanism as well as the 4-hour mental health charter. The goal is to look after SEN students under the integrated education approach. However, we need to overcome some difficulties. For example, as there are more and more SEN students, should they be included in the same classroom with other students, or should they be singled out and sent to a special classroom, or should they be given support and counseling only after normal classes? There are different scenarios. So in terms of SEN students, I have 5 suggestions. Some universities and NGOs have begun to try out AI technology to identify and provide counseling to SEN students. Now, I don't think there is a consensus in society as to using AI to intervene and provide counseling to SEN students. But still, this is a kind of new technology. We have a pilot scheme. Let's give it a try. The second suggestion is to enhance education and counseling for parents of SEN students to the status of a carer. The third suggestion is to encourage teachers to receive professional training. Now, because of some legacy reasons, SANCO, that is the coordinator, are usually given 2 salary points higher, but it has been scrapped. Can we reinstate that? The fourth suggestion is that for disabled students, is it possible to include speech therapists and other or occupational therapists in the permanent establishment of schools, so that we have more frontline professionals to give counseling to our students? I support this year's budget. I so submit. Mr. Ken Wong. President, I speak in support of the budget 2026-27. This is the start of the country's 15th five-year plan, and this is a critical phase for Chinese modernization, and we also benefit from the economic transformation. Now, the budget this year, as delivered by the Financial Secretary, has adopted the theme of driving high-quality inclusive growth with innovation and finance. It demonstrates the government's commitment and resolve in promoting diversified economic development and enhancing people's well-being through innovation. I thank the FS for accepting our suggestion. For example, in 2026-20 and 25-26, $2.9 billion of consolidated surplus was recorded. We managed to strike a fiscal balance at an early stage, so I acknowledge the efforts of the FS. Now, resources will be deployed to promote development of a number of areas such as AI and I&T, as well as a deepened collaboration with the industries. It also forms solid foundation for Hong Kong to develop new quality productive forces. I acknowledge the budget. On the whole, I'd like to give 4 suggestions. First, that is about ensuring that civil servants can meet the target. Now, according to the budget, the AI advocacy team has been set up to coordinate the work of different departments on the use of AI, covering traffic management and flooding alert system. The government should set up the minimum training requirement for civil servants from lower to middle rank staff, because there is eminent need that they get familiar with AI operations. This should be included in the appraisal reports as well. At the moment, policy bureaus and departments are in charge of providing AI training to their staff in a separate manner. They work in silo. There is no consolidated database to speak of. The government should set up a central database so as to fully grasp the situation of AI training for civil servants in terms of the coverage and resources, to make sure that this is not just about chanting slogans. And in terms of teachers, they should be empowered. And I think we should enhance the digital literacy of teachers. A framework should be drawn up having regard to the Ministry of Education, so as to impose requirements on raising teachers' awareness on the digitization, the application of digitalization, as well as the social responsibility. A reward scheme should also be put in place for teachers to undergo professional training, and that those with potential should be given study leave. Indicators should be drawn up on a regular basis. They should be reviewed so as to further enhance the training content and to make sure that those who have undergone training can apply what they've learned in their day-to-day teaching. The third suggestion is to enhance industrial academic collaboration. Now, we have very strong research capabilities in Hong Kong, but the research outcomes are hardly commercialized. The R&D spending in Hong Kong accounts for only 1% of our GDP. We are lagging far behind neighboring countries. This is a red flag. Now, the government is going to utilize $150 billion that being the investment income from exchange fund to support major infrastructure developments such as Northern Metropolis. $10 billion will also be set aside for financing of universities to build campuses in the university town. I hope that the institutions and the relevant industries will be aligned in the Northern Metropolis. The government should continue to optimize financial arrangements and provide policy support to enhance collaboration among the top-notch institutions and enterprises in the area, so that Hong Kong can become a major hub of I&T. The fourth suggestion is to grasp the opportunities and develop Hong Kong into an international education hub. Now, some countries have begun to tighten their requirements on student visas and the residency requirement. We must grasp this opportunity and be proactive. We should attract more non-local students to come. For example, we should step up publicity efforts along the Belt and Road countries. And we have, in fact, recently held the inaugural exhibition and conference. The government should continue to hold more international conferences and exhibitions so as to foster collaboration and groom talents. President, this is a question that I always ponder. In 10 years' time, how do we allow young people to give play to their potential? This budget has provided me with a very clear answer. With AI as the driver, we're going to develop Hong Kong into a smart city, and that in the Northern Metropolis there will be the university town, which places focus on I&T and development of industrial chains. We are investing in the future of Hong Kong, from target on AI training for civil servants to nurturing digital literacy among teachers, all the way to developing Hong Kong into an international education hub. These are not just fragmented policy measures. These, coming together, will form a solid foundation for Hong Kong. Now, as the country promulgates the 15th five-year plan, I hope that our government will continue to invest in future so as to groom talents and attract top-notch talents to come and help develop new quality productive forces. This budget is the starting point. I look forward to building a smarter and better Hong Kong.
Ms. Carmen Khan. Thank you, Deputy President. The Appropriation Bill 2026 covers a measure to reserve $652 billion for operating expenditure. The total expenditure stands at $843 billion, but $652 billion are reserved. So why the gap here? The money will come from 5 funds. That covers I&T Fund, Capital Works Reserve Fund, and so on. According to the estimate of expenditure, in terms of commitment, there are some heads or subheads that state that some of the approval funding or funding application will be submitted to LegCo, which covers $20 billion of I&T fund, as well as the $4 billion of long-term housing plan for one-for-court victims. It is expected that the revenue this year will stand at $765 billion, up 11.1%. But the expenditure is going to be $78 billion less. Our consolidated account will record $22 billion of reserve, and it will increase to $679 billion. It is believed that by 2031, the fiscal reserve will increase to $733 billion, which represents a significant improvement. I support the fiscal consolidation program. We should focus on cutting back expenditure, and we should adhere to affordable user pay principle. I think this is a bold budget, and I agree that we should separate the operating account as well as the general account. This can better manage public finances. Given the active stock market, the stamp duty revenue amounts to $100 billion. But because of a drop of land revenue, it is expected that land revenue would only stand at $18 billion this year. I'm glad that the government is switching from the past strategy of relying on land revenue. The stamp duty for residential properties valued over $100 million will be increased to 6.5%, and this is again aligned with the affordable user pay principle. To ensure sustainable public finances, we cannot over-rely on the revenue from stamp duty on stock transaction. I'm glad that an advisory committee on taxation will be set up by the government to formulate more targeted tax measures. I appreciate that this is a comprehensive budget. Finance Plus and AI Plus initiatives can both reinforce Hong Kong's status as the 10 centers, including international, financial, shipping, and aviation center. As for education, healthcare, as well as social welfare and housing, the relevant expenditure stands at $477 billion, and that is up 7.1% compared to $31.8 billion last year. I'd like to talk about the breakthrough measures in the budget. First, the CE in Council, in accordance with the Exchange Fund Ordinance, is going to approve the transfer of $150 billion of exchange fund to the Capital Works Reserve Fund in 2 tranches. Also, both last year and this year, there are in total about $70 billion that will be clawed back from 13 funds. Also, the $37 billion of surplus from a bond will be incorporated into the government account. Also, the $500 billion of bond issuance will be increased to $900 billion. That only accounts for 19% of our GDP. Compared to Singapore, the percentage is 176%, and in the US, the percentage is 129%. I have been emphasizing that the tenure of the bond should be in line with the capital requirement of the government. In future, the government may issue more long-term bonds as well as RMB-denominated bonds to increase the yield curve of RMB bonds. Also, the government said half of the capital will be used on infrastructure development in the northern metropolis. With the support of the central government, we have to give full play to our negotiating power. In the coming few years, the consolidated account will see surplus, and also we will see steady growth in our GDP as well as other economic and financial indicators. We have to grasp the opportunity to issue bonds to lower costs for developing infrastructure. With capital in place, we have to work in full steam to develop the NM. We have to dovetail with the legislations in the Loop as well as Shenzhen so that we can ensure alignment with the 15th five-year plan and to make sure that there is a flow of people, goods, capital, as well as data. As for the Hongshui-Q new development area, the tendering exercise will be completed in July this year. The large-scale land disposal approach is a new move. We cannot wait for tendering. We have to be proactive. The Secretary for Development visited Beijing recently to introduce to state enterprises the NM development strategy. I think the government should keep up with the effort. The government is exploring injecting $10 billion into the enterprises in Hongshui-Q as well as the Sentin Technopole. The government should leverage market forces to make sure that the projects of these enterprises can be financially viable. To build the university town in NM, we should not only rely on government money. According to latest statistics, the 8 UGC-funded universities see a reserve of $151 billion. The universities or education institutions should adopt their own financing means to take part in the development of the northern metropolis. Director Sha Baolong during the National Security Education Day said we have to facilitate high-quality development and make sure healthy interaction between the government and other parties. I hope that permanent secretary as well as directors and secretaries of departments make sure that we will not squander money arbitrarily, and we should make sure that public funds are used effectively. Also, the government should make sure that there is an accountability system in place. For example, the Development Bureau suggests that we should only wait until 2027 to review the $3 billion Operation Bright Building 2.0 scheme. The Development Bureau, however, at the same time said we should approve a $300 million fund to the URA, which is not subject to the audits of the Audit Commission by the second half of this year. The Taipo fire attracts attention of the central government as well as different parts of our community. I hope that the government could attach importance to the report to be released by the independent committee. One of the means for us to move with the times is to expand the auditing scope. We should explore including the TDC, the Airport Authority, as well as the SFC, which are closely related to our lives, into the value for money auditing scope. This is to improve their performance as well as accountability. The chief executive said within this year, the government will roll out a 5-year plan for Hong Kong development. The 5-year plan of Hong Kong should dovetail with the national 15th five-year plan to make sure integration of an effective market and a competent government. The SAR government has to own up to its responsibility. At the same time, I myself as well as other LegCo members will support the government's efforts in formulating the 5-year plan to make sure that there are checks and balances. I so submit. Next, Mr. Ray Wong. I speak in support of the Appropriation Bill 2026. This year's budget, as the BPA described, dovetails with the National 15th Five-Year Plan. There are breakthroughs and innovative mindset. The budget seeks to ensure steady growth, and there are rooms for expansion of different industries because of this budget. The SAR government believes that we will see surplus in the government's account, and this is no easy task. It shows that the government manages public finances effectively. As a member representing the industrial sector, I am concerned about industrial transformation. I attach importance to the development of new productive forces. It is essential for transformation, and we need technology to achieve that. Apart from making use of AI, we need to achieve a synergy. Measures set out in the budget cover many areas. I'm going to focus on 5 areas. INT, industry upgrading, finance, as well as connectivity. First, INT is about making use of new productive forces as the growth engine. I think we are heading towards the right direction. In the budget, it is announced that there will be injection into the INT fund as well as the venture funds. I think that as we strive to develop patient capital, we have to bring in capital from other parties. Also, for high-tech enterprises, there should be more comprehensive allowances and tax incentives to encourage startups. Second, the northern metropolis accounts for 1/3 of the area in Hong Kong. It is very influential for the industrial development in Hong Kong, so we must speed up the development of the He-Tao Cooperation Zone to make sure that we can transform the R&D outcomes. Now, on industrial development, the government is going to set up a committee to study AI. I think we should pay attention to industries that make use of AI. We should guide industries to use AI to empower them instead of having AI replace manual labor. Singapore introduces computing models to enterprises to encourage industry transformation. Of course, different industries face different problems. Therefore, we need different measures for different sectors. We should, in general, harness AI to generate economic growth and create quality job opportunities. Also, the government, the industrial sector, as well as the academia should work together to make sure that all relevant projects could be taken forward smoothly. And this is also to encourage enterprises to be bold and be innovative. Now, turning to new industrialization, we need a new framework. We need to promote new productive forces to make sure high-end manufacturing and to ensure our competitiveness in the long run. We have to adopt a targeted approach in, for example, advanced manufacturing, electronics, and health and science, life science. We should also make use of big data to formulate strategies and to allocate resources. We also need green transformation to upgrade traditional sectors and to encourage decarbonization. We should encourage Hong Kong enterprises to make use of the capital from R&D to invest in GBA projects. We should therefore support large-scale production. Both Hong Kong and GBA need incubators to provide cross-boundary support for startups. We should make sure that there are large-scale production and production lines. Now turning to finance. Finance is one advantage of Hong Kong. We should build on the advantages we have to reinforce family offices as well as R&B related businesses. We should strive to have China concept stocks to come to Hong Kong. We should also enhance tax concessions for physical commodity traders in order to build a supply chain. We should provide tax concessions for those who are eligible to trade gold. This is to make sure connectivity between the markets in Hong Kong and the mainland. For SMEs, we need Finance Plus. There is the SME protection measures, but with the challenges faced by SMEs, we should provide more interest subsidies for SMEs to encourage them to go global. As for the other subsidy funds, the ratio could be enhanced to from 1 to 3 to 1 to 2 or even 1 to 1. Also, with the complicated international landscape, Hong Kong needs to play the role as a super connector. We have to strengthen connectivity with the GBA to make sure that there is flow of people as well as data. We have to make sure that we can build a network in the GBA, and the NM will play an important role in this regard. Also, we have to develop new markets in ASEAN as well as in the Middle East. The ETOs to be set up will help break the barriers. We should also make use of the support from the HKECIC to offer more support to SMEs. Now, in terms of going global, Hong Kong is the premier destination for mainland enterprises as we provide financing as well as arbitration and mediation services. Also, on improving people's lives, we have to make sure that people can share the benefits of our development. Recently, we see tensions in the Middle East and fuel prices has been on the rise. The government has rolled out measures to support the relevant sectors. However, we should come up with a benchmark so that we can include delivery workers as well as drivers into the subsidy net. Also, we should provide fire service installation services for 3 new buildings. On elderly care, we should extend the elderly voucher scheme. We should expand the scheme to cover silver products. On supporting SMEs, we should enhance the Commerce EC scheme to make sure that we can tackle the shortage of manpower. We need to achieve a win-win situation. The budget this year is very pragmatic and it dovetails with the National 15th Five-Year Plan. However, to benefit our people, we have to achieve the following 3 targets. First, we need a timetable or a roadmap, and we have to stick to the timetable. Second, we have to strengthen connectivity to integrate ourselves into the national development and expand our network. Thirdly, we have to speed up development. We have to promote new productive forces. I support the Appropriation Bill 2026. I'll work with the government to make sure that we can ensure progress as we strive for stability. Thank you. I so submit.
Ms. Kwok Foo-young, President, the budget is not just about a list of expenditure. It shows how the government allocate resources. Is the appropriation bill targeted enough? And I wonder if the policies can be translated into welfare policies that benefit the people. I'd like to focus on the maintenance of old buildings, water seepage problems, children and elderly welfare policies, as well as green energy. I speak in support of the Appropriation Bill 2026. First, I'd like to speak on the maintenance of old buildings. I'm glad to see that in the budget, the Financial Secretary has answered to the people's demand for maintenance of old buildings. The budget has proposed measures to solve the problems of owners not having enough money or knowledge to maintain their buildings. We're going to roll out and reinforce the smart tender. First, the budget has answered the demand of the DAB to review the Operation Building Bright 2.0. We're going to have a new subsidy scheme, and we're going to continue to modernize and improve the lift modernization program. I fully support them because it improves people's living environment. Lift is particularly important to elderly and disabled people. It also directly impacts people's commute and safety. So it's important for us to regularize the lift subsidy scheme. The smart tender has helped many owners resolve problems with tender exercise for maintenance works, but there is also problems with the lack of transparency of information, big rigging, so on and so forth. I think that with the reinforced smart tender, we need to make sure that the tender process is transparent and allow the owners to select the appropriate contractors. Second, given the aging problem of our buildings and our population, the threshold for application of the subsidy scheme is still quite high. Regarding the relevant self-occupied subsidy scheme, For elderly people aged over 60, the income threshold is 13,455 per month. For two-people family, the threshold is $21,190. Given the heightened inflation and the rise in the maintenance cost, many elderly have healthcare needs, and even if their asset level is higher than the threshold, it's difficult for them to shoulder the burden of maintenance cost. It shows that the successful rate of application for the subsidy scheme is as low as 56%. In other words, 17,000 cases were rejected. So I think that we should relax the asset and income threshold. Maybe we can adopt the threshold in the working family and subsidy scheme. The average approval time for this maintenance subsidy scheme is as long as 155 days. It's almost 5 months. So I think that the government should streamline procedures and speed up the approval process. The government should also set up a clear KPI to monitor the property management companies and enhance their service quality to improve maintenance of buildings. Over the long run, the government should establish a one-stop service platform to help owners without professional knowledge maintain and manage their buildings. Many owners, especially elderly, when they're faced with these complicated measures, feel very helpless. I hope that by offering default services, we can plug the loophole. Second, on water seepage problems with buildings. In the new financial year, the government will streamlined the procedures for investigating water seepage. It is said that within 28 days, the owners of the upper limit will have to complete obtaining the process of obtaining proposals and coming up with an action plan. But for grassroots owners with financial pressure, it's difficult for them to complete all these procedures, and given the length of time needed to apply for the subsidy scheme from the government, it's difficult for the owners to do what is required within 28 days. Water seepage is the root problems for disputes within a neighborhood. So I hope that the government will take time in implementing various policies. Third, I think that we also need to improve our welfare policies. We have to respond to the needs of the people on areas such as childcare and elderly care, given our change in our population structure. We don't have enough quotas for childcare centers in areas such as Chunwan and Kowloon City. While the usage rate of subsidized standalone child center is as high as 100% over the past 3 years, there is no additional quotas under these centers. The demand for these childcare schemes is as high as 10,000 people. So on average, each community nanny needs to look after 4 to 5 young children. For working women after their maternity leave, and they have this problem of not having a quota with a childcare center. So I think that we need to increase the number of quotas offered by standalone childcare centers. We need to increase the number of community nannies that we have, and hence their professionalism, so that we can alleviate the burden of working women and instill confidence in young women and young couples, and hence the fertility rate. Third, I think that we need to do more than increasing the number of places at elderly care homes. We need to reinforce community support and implement this policy of aging at home. Take Kwaiching as an example. We have 800,000 people, but we only have 2 elderly district centers. So I hope that the government will have regards to the number of elderly in a particular district and allocate resources equally. I also think that the government should consider reserving more land in the public rental housing estates for welfare services. We should include more childcare centers and elderly service centers in public housing estates to cater to the problems that may arise with aging. I also like to talk about green energy. We should create a low-carbon living circle. After the outbreak of the war in the Middle East, there is a significant rise in the oil prices. The retail price of oil have increased by 7.4% to 9.4%. Diesel fuel also see an increase in price by 12.1%. This has increased the burden of vehicle owners. This could drive people away from traditional fuel vehicles to EVs, but the budget said that we're not going to extend the 1-for-1 scheme. So I think that we need to further promote the popularization of EV by lowering the cost of maintaining EVs. We have this $300 million promotion scheme for high-speed chargers. Among 528 proposed in the scheme, only 22 are in operation, and the distributions of these high-speed chargers or fast chargers is not even. So I think that we need to help the trade in speeding up the installation process and lower the reliance of the trade on traditional fuel. Thank you. Mr. Yang Wen-kit. Thank you, President. As our economy has improved, the Financial Secretary has proposed some relief measures in the budget. I thank the Financial Secretary for taking on board my suggestions by adjusting the tax allowance and deduction ceilings for child-dependent parents, so on and so forth. And we are going to also offer an extra 1-month allowance of standard CSSA payments, old age allowance, old age living allowance, so on and so forth. I think that, however, the government can do more to promote fertility. Last year, the number of child born saw a record low. Some couples may not like children, and some of them may choose not to give birth because of various reasons. This is the decision to be made by couples. We cannot change the minds of those who don't want to have children, but for those who are not sure, I think that we need to implement measures to encourage them to do so. I recommended policies such as progressive child allowance or newborn baby bonus. Currently, the ceiling of a child allowance is as high as 9. It's hard enough for us to ask people to have 3 children. So I think that instead of setting a ceiling of 9 children for child allowance, we need to, this will show the government's determination in encouraging childbirth. The cost of childbearing in Hong Kong is high. Apart from relaxing or enhancing the child allowance, I think that we should introduce a tax deductions for hiring a foreign domestic helper. This will encourage people to have children. The government is encouraging people to retire in the Greater Bay Area. Many people are supporting their parents who live in the Greater Bay Area. But in many government policies or measures, many tax deductions only apply to parents who live in Hong Kong. So I think that we should extend the scope of Guangdong scheme and Fujian scheme so that as long as people's parents live in the Greater Bay Area, and as long as they are taxpayers and they support their parents who live in the mainland, they enjoy tax deductions. We're going to issue bonds and many of them have a short tenure for financing for infrastructures. And given the short tenure, we have to repay very soon, and the interest risk is high. And I have always been asking the government to allow MPF trustees or scheme members to hold government bond through their MPF balance. By that, members of the public will have a stable interest income. Also, in the budget, it is said that we're going to review the Operation Building Bright 2.0, and we're going to establish a brand new subsidy scheme with some $3 billion. In the second half of the year, we're going to implement the reinforced smart tender. With the aging buildings, many more will be subject to a mandatory building inspection. With the Wanfo Court fire, many people are now worried about major renovations and maintenance. With the reinforced smart tender, we will be holding contractors liable, and contractors will have to pass the background check to be conducted by the police and ICAC before they can be included in the whitelist and take part in tender exercise of major renovations of buildings. And I think that we need to engage the Urban Renewal Authority as well. We have to offer, say, for example, standard contracts for owners of buildings and include an exit clause in the agreements so that owners will not suffer loss because of a lack of information or knowledge. And I think that the government should have regards to the conditions of the buildings and affordability of the owners in allocating subsidy for buildings with owners with a lower median income. Maybe we should allocate more subsidy to them. As for the OBB 2.0, the government said that they are going to focus the new $3 billion subsidy on three new buildings and private buildings with owners without means. And I think that we need to learn from our experience. We need to set up a streamlined application procedures for single buildings or buildings with no incorporated owners. The government said that we need a more targeted matching between resources and needs for renovations. I think that we need to prioritize projects such as repair of external walls, fire services systems, so on and so forth, so that they get higher level of subsidy. I think that we need to, say, allocate or disperse subsidy in stages. For buildings that have completed a certain stage, we can disperse the subsidy for that particular project first. And I think that we need to review the problem of water seepage. This has posed impact on residents of all districts. The government recently just rolled out some streamlined procedures for investigating water seepage. That's a pilot scheme. In the first stage, we're going to introduce infrared thermography and issue notification letters to the owners of the upper limit, asking them to conduct inspection and maintenance within 28 days. The entire process can be sped up by 70%. This will clarify the responsibilities of owners of upper unit to manage their buildings. If the owners of the upper limit fail to implement the requirements in their notification letters, the joint office will step in and they're going to recover the examination cost from the owners responsible. And I'm glad that the government is going to promote mediation to resolve disputes. But for extreme cases, such as the ones that involve a lawyer and a doctor in Whampoa Garden, I think that we need to introduce an arbitration system so that we can offer a fairer and more effective ways to resolve disputes between owners of upper and lower units. Lastly, I'd like to talk about the shortage of parking spaces for coaches. In Kowloon City, we have just less than 100 parking spaces for coaches. After the Kai Tak Sports Park was commissioned, we have staged so many events there. We have many tours organized for Kowloon City. Many coaches need to park in Kowloon City. With so many visitors and tourists patroning Kowloon City, this has worsened the problems of a lack of parking spaces for coaches. I hope that the government will try to address the issue. We have 23 redevelopment projects in our districts. I think that there is room for us to increase commercial parking spaces to answer to the needs of the industry. I support the Appropriation Bill 2026.
Mr. Chen Pui-lang. Thank you, President. I speak in support of the Appropriation Bill 2026. On the whole, this budget maintains stability while seeking progress. It responds to livelihood needs and it has regards to the development of the economy and investment in the future. I support the budget. Now, I'd like to speak on behalf of the insurance sector. We need to consolidate Hong Kong's status as an international financial center. Now, the insurance sector is an important pillar to Hong Kong's status as an international risk management center. Longer bonds of longer tenors can help meet insurance needs for long-term resource allocation or asset allocation. It also responds to the central authorities' call for active investment and promotion of the Northern Metropolis. Now, the risk-based capital regime will be optimized according to the budget. This will lower the capital requirement for the insurers. This can help enhance the efficiency of use of resources. On the grooming of talents, the relevant pilot scheme for the insurance professionals will be extended by 3 years. And I'm happy to learn that this will help our industry attract new blood. I'm happy to learn that the government has actively responded to social calls and rolled out relief measures such as the basic allowance for individuals as well as tax deductions for children and dependent parents in order to tide people over the difficulties. And this is allowing the public to share the dividends of success. And this budget also continues to introduce the reinforced fiscal consolidation program so that a three-pronged approach is taken to restore fiscal balance and invest in the future. Now, the government will also issue more bonds to provide funding support for Northern Metropolis. The other measure is to increase the stamp duty rate for residential or for luxury homes to 6.5%, and there will also be the minimum tax rate globally for multinational corporations. These two measures are expected to bring in about $16 billion of tax revenue, and together with other cost-saving measures, $23.4 billion can be saved. That's 2% of the recurrent spending. Now, the investment income of exchange fund will also be transferred to the government accounts. This can provide support for livelihood projects and infrastructure developments. On investing in the future, the government promotes the development of AI and other new industries such as aerospace, low-altitude economy. It also provides incentives to qualified infrastructure investments. Now, for insurers with sufficient liquidity and repayment capability, the government should consider including them in the scheme so that they can hold bonds of longer terms as well. Some insurers tend to settle their books with US dollars. The government should issue bonds covering different currency denominations, and the tenors can be extended to 10 years or more to meet the investment needs of insurers. Now, the government actively dovetails with the national plan, and we are going to draw up the first 5-year plan. In terms of financial development, there will be ample opportunities for Hong Kong. Now, I represent the insurance industry. In fact, we can actively respond to the National 15 5-year plan on improving social security and actively developing products for retirement and for those requiring health care and long-term care needs, so as to lift pressure off the public coffers. Now, apart from the Northern Metropolis requiring a comprehensive insurance policy, we can also explore different areas such as green tech and digitalization. This budget touches on autonomous driving, low-altitude economy, and aerospace. These are new industries, and we need to help them manage risks. In terms of higher level of opening up of our country, we can give play to our professional services in the insurance industry and our advantages in captive insurance, so as to provide risk management services to Belt and Road countries as well as enterprises in the mainland wishing to go global. We have very robust financial infrastructure. Through tax incentives and tax breaks, we can attract the enterprises to come to Hong Kong and set up captive insurance companies so that we can better manage risk and bolster our status as an international risk management center. Now, there are so many uncertainties in the external economy. 2 months right after the budget has been delivered, just 3 days after the budget was delivered, the war in the Middle East started. It has not come to an end yet, and this conflict has caused a direct escalation of fuel prices and disruption to the supply chain. Hong Kong is directly affected as well. In light of the uncertainties brought about by the war, we must also have safeguards. Mr. Xia Baolong, the director, earlier pointed out that safety remains and security remains our major advantage. We are the safe harbor, and we have the prerequisite for development. Last month, the Wealth for Good in Hong Kong was held, and in this forum, it is said that many family offices in the Middle East have come to Hong Kong to check out the situation. This reflects our international status. I think the government should have regard to the latest situation and grasp opportunities whilst resolving crises. We have our country's backing. We're connected to the world. We have a very stable political environment. We have robust legal system and the rule of law. We can provide a safe harbor and predictable investment environment for the international community. Certainty is the advantage that we enjoy when it comes to development. It's also a safe haven for global investors. In light of the economic uncertainties around the world, we must let the world know our advantages so that we can promote high quality development and maintain stability while seeking progress. Now, the external headwinds are unavoidable. This will pose a challenge to the local economy. The government revenue will also be affected by the global situation. Now, I think we need to tackle the problem at source. That is about the narrow tax base. According to the budget, an advisory committee on tax policy will be set up. A major review will be conducted on our tax policies. This hasn't been done for many years. I hope that on the premise of maintaining a low and simple tax regime, we can conduct a public consultation on the tax reforms as quickly as possible so as to tap new income revenue sources. I support the budget 2026-27. Mr. Webster. President, I speak in support of the Appropriation Bill 2026. Now, in light of the complex and ever-changing external environment and escalating geopolitical risks and different paces of recovery of the global economy, we are at a critical phase of economic transformation and industrial upgrading in Hong Kong. I think that this budget doesn't just present the fiscal position of our government. This budget is a clear demonstration of the commitment that this government makes against the very complex global landscape and how the government plans for the long-term development of Hong Kong so that we can continue to invest in the future and promote high-quality development in Hong Kong. We need to bolster our foundation and increase impetus and create room for development. In fact, there have been a lot of discussions in recent months focusing on, for example, the bond issue size, deficits, and the level of reserve, as well as the transfer of investment income from the exchange fund to support infrastructural development. This shows that the members of the public are concerned about our fiscal health, and these discussions are healthy. We need to conduct a more detailed analysis. From the accountancy's point of view, I think it's not accurate just to interpret bond issuance as a kind of revenue. This is misleading. We need to have regard to cash flow and the financial status. The purpose of issuing bonds is to provide capital for the infrastructural development in the long term. It's not a trick to pay for recurrent spending. This is akin to the logic of issuing bonds by individual entities. So we need to abide by fiscal prudence, and what I acknowledge in this budget is that a clear red line is drawn. Bonds are issued to support infrastructural development. Bonds are not issued to support recurrent spending or paying loans. There is a clear difference. The former seeks to add value to our future. The latter seeks to the latter does nothing but overdraft in our future books. In fact, in 2020, the financial disclosure requirement Hong Kong FRS 18 will come into effect in 2027. As for the $150 billion to be transferred from the exchange fund to support infrastructural development, it is understandable that diverse views are made in the community. In fact, we are making use of the investment income and not the capital in the exchange fund, and this is a crucial concept. This is akin to giving out dividends by a parent company of the subsidiary company to fund a long-term investment of the group. So I think that our position is clear. We need to make sure that the exchange fund remains stable. Its function should be clear. And I think this is a one-off arrangement. I support the government in investing in the future. At the same time, we must make sure that the bottom line is maintained, and that we should make sure that these two pots of money are not mixed. The other highlight in this budget is that the financial market's performance in recent months has been encouraging. According to the latest Global Financial Center Index, Hong Kong ranks the third around the world and first in Asia. And we also top the chart in a number of areas such as insurance, financing, and investment and management. This reflects our strong position as an international financial center. Even against keen competition, we have strong resilience and we are an attractive place. The market also has a lot of confidence in our future. This is reflected in the initial public offering, with a market capitalization totaling $60 billion US dollars, or 460 billion Hong Kong dollars. And according to a survey, over 60% of single-family offices originate from Hong Kong, and over 90% of these offices would give priority to investing in Hong Kong. This shows our attractiveness as a wealth hub. We remain a very important wealth management hub. As long as we're able to grasp opportunities and address shortcomings, we have the prerequisites to move up the chart. According to the latest survey conducted by the Hong Kong Trade Development Council about the mainland market, 95% of mainland enterprises have expressed their interest in furthering their business overseas, and over 80% of enterprises have expressed interest in using professional services in Hong Kong. That's an apparent increase from 62% in 2023. And this also reflects an increasing demand from mainland enterprises to go global. Now, what the survey tells us is that we should grasp the opportunities brought about by our national development, especially in terms of finance and I&T, so that we can further give play to our potential and advantages. This is also why I support this budget and the initiatives therein in investing in the future. Of course, whilst enjoying advantages, we also have shortcomings. In terms of our professional services, government regulations, and vibrancy of the market, there is room for improvement according to the Global Financial Center Index. Now, we need to aim higher. We should not just safeguard our position as the third on the chart. We must give play to our advantages, and in order to do that, we must introduce continuous and deepened reform on different aspects so as to enhance market liquidity and develop more products denominated in renminbi. We need to develop fintech and work on cross-boundary payments as well. Now, the tax policy will be crucial in this regard. The budget proposes the setting up of an advisory committee on tax policy. I support that because this will help formulate tax policies that can promote economic development. I'm on board with this idea. We need to take this important step of reviewing tax policies. Against the new economic landscape, we need to plan ahead for new areas such as crypto assets, intangible assets, and cross-boundary collaboration. With the Northern Metropolis project coming on stream, there'll be a new picture for Hong Kong. I hope that the government will review the tax policies so as to bring impetus to the long-term economic development of Hong Kong. We are entering a new phase, moving on from stability to prosperity. We must not be stuck by challenges and difficulties. We must grasp opportunities and overcome challenges. Now, this is a very good budget because it does not compromise anything in face of a short-term financial pressure. We have not given up on long-term investment, even in light of external uncertainties. We remain committed to reform in the long run. This shows the government's commitment in the future of Hong Kong. I believe that as long as we abide by fiscal prudence and discipline and leverage on market capacity, and together with our advantages, we can actively support the country's development plan, and we can also bolster our status as an international financial center. We can groom new growth points and scale new heights. I support this budget. I so submit.
Dr. Johnny Ng. Thank you, President. We've entered a new phase of moving from stability to prosperity. Over the past few years, with the various measures adopted by the SAR government, we are ushering in rapid development. They cover industry upgrading as well as attracting capital and businesses, and we have yielded results in all these areas. Early this year, I submitted a proposal to VFS covering 22 suggestions covering 4 major areas. I hope that we can grow the pie and identify new growth points. At the same time, I hope we can strengthen support in a more targeted manner to different levels of our society so that resources could be distributed more evenly to different classes. I think the FS has done a good job. The theme of this budget is driving growth with innovation and technology, inclusive growth with innovation and finance. This is a visionary budget, and AI is one important theme of this budget. This is to seize opportunities as well as ensure high quality and development. This is the inaugural year of the National 15th Five-Year Plan. The latest budget stresses the importance of dovetailing with the 15th Five-Year Plan. This is the right direction. I think we should leverage our unique advantages, and the government should consolidate the proposals of different departments and come up with various blueprints in different areas. There need to be roadmaps as well. Currently, we see volatility in the international geopolitical landscape. Our country insists on facilitating high-quality development. On one hand, the SAR government has to reinforce the traditional European and US markets. At the same time, it has to open up new markets. The SA government has to lead various sectors to leverage our unique advantages in order to solidify our status and competitiveness. We have to better integrate into the GBA in order to serve the development of our country. In my proposal to the FS, I advocate that in the future, we have to improve the structure of our public finances. The National 15th Five-Year Plan lists INT as well as green development as the core development driver. We have to increase infrastructure as well as dedication into INT and manpower in order to increase the return of these infrastructure development. I suggest that we speed up the development of the northern metropolis so that the NN can become a irreplaceable node that help us align with national development. According to the budget, the government will invest in AI as well as life and health science and electronics. This is the right direction, and I support these moves. One point in paragraph 73 of the budget, it says that the SAR government as well as our country will speed up the development of space economy, and our country is offering support to aerospace enterprises. The SAR government can provide financing as well as risk management and legal dispute resolution services. Oasis can identify suitable aerospace companies to land in Hong Kong. 2 years ago, I made a suggestion to the government to develop space economy in Hong Kong. I think we can play an important role in the development of our country in space economy. For example, we can promote energy systems as well as new model calculators and computing model, and we can make use of quantum technology as well as crowd intelligent technology. I think the NM can be made use of to develop the space economy and the low altitude economy. It could be a base for these economies. We should stick to the South-North dual engine pattern to boost productivity. The SAR government should deepen the development of Web3 ecosystem as well, so as to make Hong Kong a pioneer in this regard. We need funding, and we also need RWA pilot projects. We hope to work with the central authority so that we can empower the development of a real economy in Hong Kong. I'm happy that the government is devoting resources into developing AI. There are parts in the budget about promoting the AI Plus initiative, and that covers the establishment of the Committee on AI Plus and Industry Development Strategy to transform industries. The government is also going to empower industries through AI, and it will promote the use of AI in Hong Kong among the public. We are seizing the opportunity, and I believe AI is going to be the major trend in the coming few years. We should enhance the interaction between AI as well as the physical world, including our financial system. And we can make AI our strategy so that it can be an empowering tool for us to revive our economy. I think the government can study formulating an ecosystem so that we can study the application scenarios of various kinds of AI so that we can step up the interaction between AI as well as the physical world. We need to have a basis for data training so that we can develop robots as well as different products, and we should promote the application of these technologies. We should also formulate standards for the use of AI, and we can make use of the huge market of the mainland so as to export our technology. We should strive for a greater say in the INT area. The FS did not take on board my suggestion to roll out nighttime consumption vouchers. I'm a little bit disappointed. This is because these vouchers could stimulate consumption. We have just seen the issuance of licenses for 2 kinds of stable coins. I hope that we can all use the stable coins, and the nighttime consumption voucher could be one way for us to use the stable coins. I hope the FS could further look into my ideas. I also support the idea of strengthening Hong Kong as an international financial center. We can be the capital of exhibition and convention so that we can inject new impetus into our economy. Paragraph 136 of the budget says the government will reserve $100 million to build the brand of Hong Kong as a center for convention and exhibition. This can help drive high value-added economic activities as well as business travelers. All in all, I think we're moving towards a good direction. The new budget seeks to ensure progress as we strive for stability. I think this is a visionary budget. I give my full support to the Appropriation Bill 2026. I so submit. Mr. Ben Chen. Thank you, President. I speak in support of the Appropriation Bill. This year marks the inaugural year of the 15th Five-Year Plan. The SAR government has been proactive in integrating ourselves into the national development. This budget is a visionary one. On INT, especially AI, the government is going to allocate more resources in order to grasp opportunities. In the NM project, again, there will be more allocation of resources. With a tight fiscal situation, the government is keeping the level of expenditure on public works projects, and I think this is going to bring about a positive impact. I have 4 major suggestions. First, on retail and catering industry. The growth of these 2 industries is rather slow. We propose the idea of issuing consumption vouchers to stimulate the economy. The government did not take on board our ideas, but I hope the government could keep this idea in mind so that in future, when necessary, we could adopt this measure. The local consumption as well as retail and F&B industries declined because many people are traveling to the north. So SMEs are facing a very tough situation. In the budget, there are measures proposed to stimulate consumption. For example, there are subsidies in the tourism industry. In order to further stimulate our market, SMEs as well as eateries in Hong Kong need more support. In Q4 2025, the total revenue of the catering industry amounted to $227 billion, up 0.9 year-on-year. And actually, with price adjustment, there is a drop of 0.9%, and the vacancy rate of premises amounted to 12%. And in the first half of 2025, among the 300 shops that closed down, the catering industry accounted for 70%. So we need to stimulate the consumption market. Now I'd like to turn to transportation. The Shanghai Railway project is a strategic one. For the Hongshui-Kiu Shanghai section, I hope it could be extended to cover Hong Kong and Shenzhen airports as well as other places in the GBA. According to the budget, the government will promote the Shenzhen Western Railway and that it will cover cities in the GBA. According to the National 15th Five-Year Plan, the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Railway is also listed as one of the projects. We have to develop the 1 hour circle through this project, and so it is a critical piece of infrastructure. I hope that the railway could cover the 2 airports in Hong Kong and Shenzhen. This is because the 2 airports have great potential. For the Hong Kong International Airport, we receive about 70 million travelers every year, and for the one in Shenzhen, it receives 50 million passengers a year. In Hong Kong, the airport is linked to about over 100 destinations, and in Shenzhen over 50. And there are frequent interactions between the 2 airports. With the railway, it will help solve a lot of problems. For the Shenzhen Western Railway, it could be extended to Nansha as well as Guangzhou. That way, we could better dovetail ourselves with the mainland cities so that there could be more interaction between the NM as well as the GBA cities. And that would bring advantages to the development of the NM. With the extension of the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Railway, there will also be more opportunities for cooperation for the 2 airports. For example, we could study the use of airspace, and as long as these measures could benefit Hong Kong as well as the development of our country, I believe we'll be able to come up with solutions. Now I'd like to turn to electric vehicles. Over the past few years, we saw a rapid growth of EVs. Currently, EVs account for over 10% of the total number of vehicles in Hong Kong. The government is scrapping the tax concession, and it is believed that it will bring some impacts to the EV market. But in the long run, EVs are going to be the major trend. We have to stick to the EV development blueprint, and to dovetail with our country's strategy, our roadmap should be aligned with the ecosystem and plans of the mainland. Currently, we have a lack of charging facilities, and that's a major obstacle that hinders our development. According to the experience over the past few years, to build charging facilities as well as stations is harder than we expected. This is because this involves many departments, and government departments have been working in silos and they are unwilling to relax restrictions. Therefore, I think the government should speed up the development of charging stations and facilities. Transport Department, Highways Department, the Town Planning Board, as well as the power companies are all involved in the building of charging facilities. So it is crucial how the government could line up all these departments and coordinate their efforts. The government will have to streamline the relevant approval procedure. I hope the government could encourage the parties, for example, by introducing land premium as well as making use of vacant or idle sites under flyover for charging facilities, so that if someone proposes to build charging facilities in Hong Kong, the government could stick to the standardized procedure to deal with the relevant applications. Some new vehicles can travel 60 kilometers in 4 minutes' time. And these vehicles can be used by bus operators, minibus operators, and so on. The government should impose incentives so that transport operators can turn to EVs as early as possible. Oil and fuel are our daily necessities. They are strategic commodities like rice. For commercial vehicles, the government is offering a $3 subsidy given the spike in fuel price. I think this is a necessary move. However, we're still facing challenges. Hong Kong's fuel prices are the most expensive in Asia. Why? With the war in the Middle East, our oil price has increased to $9 per liter. And before the war, it was about $5 per liter. And our petrol station is selling 1 liter of oil for about $20. Now it is increased to $30. While there are discounts and concessionary fares offered, the retail price as well as the costs are still very different. Is it because there are people who are trying to reap benefits? In the past, we only looked at the problem from a price-fixing perspective. But now I think we have to take into account the expensive rent of petrol stations. Well, how much money can we actually earn from the petrol stations by charging their rent? The high oil price and high fuel price are making us pay. So I think we have to have a deep analysis on this. According to the 15th Five-Year Plan, all our policies have to make sure that we can safeguard the interests and benefits of our people. We have to ensure social justice so as to improve people's lives. I hope that the FS, with the support of LegCo members on this budget, could continue to further the economic growth in Hong Kong so that we can benefit from the growth and that we can enhance our competitiveness. I hope we can play our role and contribute to our country. Thank you.
Mr. Wu Yingpeng. Thank you, President. Given the heightened geopolitical tensions and the rise of protectionism, the budget have put in place a set of forward-looking and targeted measures to drive economy. The theme of the budget is driving high-quality, inclusive growth with innovation and finance. This has drawn a clear roadmap for high-quality development of Hong Kong. Over the past year, our economy is the freest in the world. The amount of IPO is the first in the world, and we rank the first in terms of financial center index. Our competitiveness of our talents ranked the third in the world. And the headquarters of the International Organization for Mediation is going to be in Hong Kong, and the IAB said that they are going to set up branches here as well. So this shows that the government is actively dovetailing with national development and consolidating our status as an international financial, trading, aviation hub. And this shows our values as a super connector and super value adder. The SDR government is result-oriented. President, I'm glad to see that the budget has included my suggestions in establishing a cooperation zone in the Hong Kong Park of Hotel. The government is going to inject $10 billion into the Hong Kong hotel company, and we're going to create a white list and a green lane for cross-boundary travel of biosamples. And the government will also offer targeted tax concessions for incubators and startups so that they can establish their presence without the completion of all the facilities, and we're also going to provide facilitations in terms of customs clearance. This has injected strong impetus into our economy, and Hotel, the loop, is going to be the driving force of our INT industry. This year marks the start of the 15th five-year plan. The government will lead the cross-departmental task force to come up with Hong Kong's five-year plan, and so that we can actively dovetail with the national development. We need to achieve a high-quality development. Very soon, within this year, the government is going to propose the dedicated legislation for the Northern Metropolis. This is how we can achieve breakthrough. As long as we have a clear regulatory framework, we can achieve the pattern of north-south dual engine of finance and INT. After the enactment of the dedicated legislation, we can speed up the development of the Northern Metropolis. We'll be able then to unleash the great potential of our industries and land. And I believe that the metropolis will be the major driving force for our economy and development. Second, we need to seize the opportunities of AI and new industrialization. In the budget, it is said that we're going to set up a AI Plus and Industrial Development Committee to nurture new quality productive forces. We need to promote AI for all. At the same time, we need to establish a clear and forward-looking legal regulatory framework so that as we are unleashing creativity, we can guard against the risk posed. This is how we can diversify our economy. Third, we need to improve the convergence of rules and regulations. We need Hong Kong to play our advantage as a common law jurisdictions. We need to enhance convergence of rules and mechanism. We have to provide legal and professional services to mainland enterprises so that they can go global under the dual circulation framework of our country. President, the 15th five-year plan has provided clear roadmap for Hong Kong's future development. We need to seize these historical opportunities to give full play to our advantage under one country, two system, so that we can converge rules and mechanisms within the Greater Bay Area and translate the 15th five-year plan into realities and performance. This hinges on the collaboration between the Legislative Council and the government. We are going to mark the 30th anniversary of the reunification. I hope that we can embrace it with real results. Members, this meeting will end at about 6:45 p.m. Professor William Wong. Thank you, President. I speak in support of the Appropriation Bill 2026. This year's budget theme is driving high-quality inclusive growth with innovation and finance. This shows the government's concern about finance given our tight budget. Despite that, the government is investing heavily in INT and education, as well as the INT park in the Loop. The government is injecting $10 billion into the Northern Metropolis and the university town. As long as we insist on investing in INT and education, we can speed up our economic transformation and the establishment of an international INT center. This is how we can be competitive. I have the following views regarding the budget this year. First, we need to deepen AI industrial development. We have to adapt to the new economic landscape. The government in the budget said that we are going to further the development of artificial intelligence. We are going to integrate AI into public service, implement AI for all idea. The government is also going to establish an AI Plus and Industrial Development Committee to come up with a strategic plan for AI Plus industries. This is government's response to my suggestion of implementing an AI Plus plan. So I hope that the government will focus on developing a vertical AI model. We need to broaden the database for industries, and we also need to subsidize SMEs in adopting artificial intelligence. We have to speed up the implementation of AI industries. In the 2 sessions, it is set in the government report that we have to promote AI economy. Significant changes have been brought about by the emergence of AI. I think that we need to make use of it to promote entrepreneurship. I hope that the various committees can help research and come up with a plan to help enterprises adapt to process re-engineering of AI. I hope that they will help reinforcing the collaboration between humans and robotics to enhance the productivity and competitiveness of our society. I also think that we need to enhance AI literacy. It's also the focus of the budget. In recent years, the community often focused on a technological breakthrough, industrial effectiveness, and economy. But under the new ecosystem and landscape, we need to make good use of our tools and enhancing AI literacy. But apart from teaching our students and people about the knowledge and skills, we also need to make sure that people are aware of the risks and ethics in using AI. We need to teach people about data security. In the budget, it is said that we're going to set aside $50 million for AI for all and train the people regarding artificial intelligence. And I think that we need to enhance people's awareness of the risk involved. Elderly, the underprivileged, carers also have various demands, and I think that we need to avoid creating a digital gap in the community. The government is also going to change or convert the Employees Retraining Board to Upskill Hong Kong to provide skill-based training, including AI application. I often see that we need not only top-notch research talents, but also mid-tier technical staff if we want to develop INT in Hong Kong. So I hope that the Upskill Hong Kong will offer more skill-based training. Third, I think that we need to make good use of artificial intelligence to minimize the impact of the productivity enhancement program. Many primary and secondary schools are affected by the 2% cut of the government. I hope that the schools here will make use of AI to make sure that the quality of education will not be affected by the cut. The Quality Education Fund has set aside some $2 billion to promote digital education at schools and subsidize schools in developing school-based AI education projects. I'm glad that schools are being informed by the Education Bureau about the education technology solutions on the market. And I hope that the government will help schools in procuring these tools. The government will cut down on the civil service establishment to some 188,000 people. In order to maintain the effectiveness and service quality of public service, the government must adopt AI and develop, say, a public service vertical large language model to help civil servants approve certain applications. A few days ago, at InnoX, the government have showcased the agentic AI tools that the departments have been using on their daily work. So I hope that the government will develop more subsidy on embodied AI so that we can enhance the quality of public service. As we have more and more AI projects, the government should set a set of standards on AI system development so that we can monitor the progress of various projects. As long as we have a standardized governance standards, we can enhance the transparency, reliance, and compliance of the development process. Fourth, we need to guard against a safety risk. Last Wednesday, we had the National Security Education Day, and it is said in the budget that we are going to enhance investment in quantum technology. Quantum technology will bring about breakthrough for Hong Kong and create new growth points for us. But there are people who worried that the computing power of the quantum technology will unlock crypto technology and will pose risks to cybersecurity. Singapore published a safety guidelines for quantum technology, and they also promote and rolled out this quantum preparedness index so that enterprises can assess the risk they face when they are faced with quantum attack. So I think that we need to guard against crisis and risk, and we need to establish a safety framework. Hong Kong is preparing for our own 5-year plan to dovetail with the National 15th Five-Year Plan. This year's budget is the first one marking the start of the 15th Five-Year Plan. It focuses on AI development, future industries. All these are consistent with the positioning Hong Kong is given by our country. I think that this budget has responded to the development needs of technology. Your time is up.
Ms. Nixie Lam, President, I speak in support of the Appropriation Bill 2026. This budget abides by fiscal prudence and spending within our means. On the basis of ensuring fiscal stability, the government plans for diversified economic development and promotes development of AI as well as industrial transformation and upgrading and the nurturing of emerging industries. There is a holistic plan. I support the government, and I'd like to speak on the population policy, enhancing the civil service governance as well as economic development. Now, I think we need to take a systemic approach and be comprehensive in formulating policies on our demography. Now, the top priority is to encourage childbearing. In other jurisdictions, they also face a similar problem of low birth rate. In fact, I always cite other examples, but this time I'd like to talk about Madrid in Spain. From 2022 to 2026, they put in place a strategy, and that is with 4.14 billion euros. They rolled out a 5-year plan to promote childbearing. And in Madrid, the rate was 1.15. That was a very low rate, but we have even lower rate, 0.7. So it's one of the lowest places around the world. On average, women gave birth to children over the age of 33 because of many reasons, because of work and work-life imbalance and lack of economic certainty, job security. Is that similar to the situation in Hong Kong? In Madrid, the government rolls out measures to help parents. For example, a subsidy for women under the age of 30, and that the subsidy will cover a wider age group up to 45-year-olds, and there will also be enhanced postnatal care and flexi work hours, remote working mode, etc., as well as up to 2,000 euros of subsidy for hiring childcare workers, nurses. There are also tax breaks, etc., and also education vouchers. Now, drawing on the Madrid experience, we need to improve our support for women who give births, and that means we need to put in place a comprehensive screening mechanism. So as to enhance service quality, there should be pre- and postnatal services for parents, as well as psychological counseling. Support platform should be set up to help the newborns to all the way to toddlers. In fact, our country has a lot of measures to help expectant mothers as well, such as tax breaks. And I support the measures rolled out in this budget, including the high amount of tax allowances for parents. For example, the tax allowance has been increased from $130,000 to $140,000 as part of the childbearing encouragement policy. The government should further review the relevant policies so as to extend the period of tax allowance from 2 to 3 years to ease the financial pressure of new parents. As for child deduction allowances, only one of the couple can apply for this deduction. Now, last term, I already asked the government to reconsider, because very often the married couple may be financially independent. They file tax returns separately. That also applies to dependent parents and grandparents as well. This is an administrative arrangement. This should not impact on the public coffers. I hope the government will consider my suggestion. There are also other measures to help working families. For example, in this budget, there will be more resources to subsidize and increase the childcare places in order to help working parents. The government should consider offering tax breaks to enterprises which provide childcare to their employees. We can, for example, conduct a survey on the willingness so as to create an atmosphere favorable for childbearing on the whole. Next, I'd like to talk about AI and civil servants. In this budget, there are measures to promote AI+. Towards the end of last term, together with other committee members, we conducted a duty visit to Shenzhen, and we learned about how civil servants there applied AI in their work. We want to introduce these measures in our system as well. In order to enhance governance, we need to leverage on technology to enhance the efficiency of governance so as to meet public expectation. Now, civil servants should proactively learn new technologies in this day and age. And I really support the measures in this budget. There will be AI-themed training for civil servants. $100 million have been set aside for the sectors to introduce new technologies. In terms of traffic management and flooding alert, the government is already using AI. I hope that in terms of public services delivered at the front line, we can introduce more AI elements. In this budget, there are also another initiative that is to reduce the civil service establishment by 2% in 2 years. Whilst leveraging technology, I do hope that we can further streamline the civil service establishment without compromising the level of public service to ensure optimal use of public resources. On economic development, there are a number of measures to bolster our status as an international financial center. We need to support traditional as well as new industries. There are policy and funding support. I think the government is heading in the right direction. That is to tap emerging markets in the Middle East and the ASEAN. There will be professional services support for enterprises to go global. There will be opportunities such as holding exhibitions and shows. This can drive direct growth in the relevant industries. It can also help promote the development of other industries such as F&B, tourism, hotel, logistics. In the budget, $100 million are set aside for a dedicated fund to support and attract major international exhibitions to be held in Hong Kong. In the policy address last year, the government has put forward the idea of yacht tourism and yacht economy. Likewise, I hope that the relevant government departments can hold exhibitions and encourage trading of yachts. For example, we can look into facilitation measures and provide more berths and other facilities and encourage trading so that we can relax rules and make Hong Kong an international yachting hub, and this can also bolster our status as an international trade, shipping and tourism center. Now, our economy is picking up, but as you know, there are geopolitical tensions and economic uncertainties caused by the war in the Middle East. Oil prices are soaring and oil refineries are damaged. We're not talking about a short-term fix. It may take years for the refineries to be built, and we don't know when this war will come to an end. So a supply chain is disrupted. There is the inflationary pressure. The high oil prices have posed a burden on different sectors, and this may hamper our economic outlook and in turn affect people's livelihood. For example, as you learn from the news, some nanny coaches and bus companies are already running operating at a deficit because of the increased oil prices, and this will have a knock-on effect on other sectors, including the jobs and people's livelihood. The government should closely monitor the situation, and if need be, the government should intervene to offset the fluctuations in oil prices so as to sustain the operation of different sectors. There are short, medium, long-term measures in this budget to cater for the needs of society and different people different livelihood issues. I hope that the government can expedite this implementation of policies and work on the details so that we can continue to sharpen our competitive edge and make continuous improvement. I support the bill. Mr. Kasef-Tam, I support the Appropriation Bill 2026. This budget abides by fiscal prudence, and on the basis of improving the public coffers, the government has also rolled out a number of measures to improve people's livelihood. In particular, the government has taken on board this is a suggestion of my association to ease the burden of different sectors of the community, as well as working families. Now, under the reinforced fiscal consolidation program, apart from cutting spending, the government also transfers the investment income from the exchange fund to support infrastructural development. This is a major funding support for the Northern Metropolis development. It is expected that top-notch enterprises will set a presence there, and this will create jobs for our local economy. According to the country's 15th five-year plan, our country strongly supports the development of Northern Metropolis in Hong Kong, and Director Xia Baolong earlier made a very important remark at the National Security Education Day in Hong Kong, and that we should expedite our development into an international I&T center, drawing on education and technology as the dual engine. We must also actively dovetail with the country's strategy and quicken our pace in the Northern Metropolis development so as to tackle challenges and turn crises into opportunities. I welcome this budget's initiatives because it sets out a clear timetable for the development of Northern Metropolis. There will also be dedicated legislation. I hope that this will be passed within this year. And the budget proposes injecting $30 billion to support the three parks in that is a Hong Kong Park, Shantin Technopole, and Hung Shui Kiu, so as to provide strong backing for the development of I&T. As for Sandy Ridge data park, there is commitment from the government as well as private development. This is encouraging. This will also create economic value for Northern Metropolis as well as creating jobs. The government will also increase the borrowing ceiling from $700 to $900 billion under the government green bond and infrastructure bond fund in the coming 5 years. Each year, the government will issue bonds to a tune of $160 to $220 billion. This will provide a safe and stable income stream for members of the public, and according to past experience, subscription has always been keen. The government will be able to raise funds through issuing bonds to support the Northern Metropolis development as well as other livelihood projects. This can also enhance Hong Kong's competitiveness. Meanwhile, with the public will be able to invest in Northern Metropolis, and that way they will have a greater sense of participation and belonging. I am concerned about Hong Kong Park and its synergistic development with the Shantin Technopole. The government has made it clear that Shantin Technopole is an extension of the loop, and there is synergistic development at the up, middle, and downstream. I hope the government will announce details of the Green Channel and that the application procedures should be streamlined for enterprises, so that we can promote the flow of the four elements and attract more enterprises to set a presence in the Northern Metropolis. And that way we can leverage on market capacity and quicken the pace of development. There should also be a package of preferential policies and tax breaks in collaboration with other Greater Bay Area cities, so as to promote the flow of people, capital, data, and goods, and create a favorable environment for enterprises. This can help build Hong Kong as an international I&T center. Now, nurturing talent is key to Northern Metropolis University Town. I support the proposal in the budget, and that three parcels of land will be rolled out in the short term in Hung Shui Kiu. $10 billion of loan have been set aside. I also thank the government for taking on board our suggestion to expand the size of the university town from 90 hectares to 100 hectares. I hope the government will disclose details as soon as possible. Now, the third hospital, that is an integrated teaching hospital, will be built in Oldtown May. There will be a combination of R&D and clinical talents as well. There will also be industries relating to life and health technology in Shantin as well as the Loop. This can help build a strong foundation of R&D in terms of healthcare in the NT North, so that members of the public will be able to enjoy convenient and quality healthcare services. Now, I'm also concerned about a rural economy. I welcome this initiative in the budget. $200 million will be set aside to promote urban-rural integration in the Northern Metropolis and promote rural tourism. In the long run, we should relax rules on eateries and accommodation in rural areas. A dedicated team should be set up to process applications. And there is also the Sampo Shu Nature Conservation Park, which will help maintain the natural environment and bring vibrancy to the rural environment. One key point is to allow members of the public a share of economic success. Now, we need to bear in mind that when it comes to livelihood in the coming 5 years, 70,000 public housing units will be provided in northern new territories. And there will be an increase in the population by 100,000. We need to make sure that the transport infrastructure and other facilities will catch up. In terms of education, we should avoid having students travel to other districts for schooling. And we are also concerned about geopolitical tensions and soaring oil prices. I welcome the support measures rolled out by the government. Still, there are external headwinds. We must closely monitor the situation to make sure that we can address the public's concerns and challenges. Now, I'd also like to refer to another issue. In fact, the parents in the community have told me and the Anti-Societies Association that school fees are very high. After scrapping the $2,500 subsidy, many sandwich families have told me that they now have a heavier burden on their shoulders because they need to pay up to $5,000 to $6,000 for textbooks per year. And if you have more than one child in a family, that means a greater burden. The government should relax the means test criteria so that more families in need will get the subsidy they need. The other point is that I hope the government can relaunch the tenant purchase scheme so as to meet the home ownership needs of the public. This will also bring in revenue for the public coffers. The government is drawing up the first 5-year plan to actively dovetail with the country's 15th 5-year plan. We need to have visionary timetable and roadmaps for not only the metropolis but the overall economic development in Hong Kong so as to give a boost of confidence in the market and build a better Hong Kong in the future. I support the Appropriation Bill 2026.
Mr. Yu Ming. Thank you, President. I speak in support of the Appropriation Bill 2026. The Northern Metropolis is a new growth driver of Hong Kong's economy. With the complex international landscape, the Northern Metropolis needs to be sped up in order for us to integrate into the national envelopment. Like the budget said, the SAR government is determined to build the NM. Since its initial planning, we have already achieved a lot of results. For example, there are streamlined planning and development to speed up the NM. In terms of transport infrastructure, there are going to be the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Railway as well as other major railway projects. The NM is going to enter a critical phase of construction, and the SAR government's efforts deserves our recognition. As the infrastructure is going to be developed, I think we should not only focus on the hardware, but also we have to stick to a people-centric policy. The NM is going to identify new development opportunities for us, and also it's going to help us solve problems in terms of uneven distribution of resources. Therefore, the SAR government has already sped up the planning for the NM so that we can build an area that is livable for everyone. In the budget, there are a number of measures to develop the NM. For example, for the Sentient Technopole as well as the Hetao area, there will be injection of $10 billion, including funding for the Hung Shui Kiu Industry Park Company. I support these measures. The government is going to put in a lot of effort to speed up the INT sector development. I hope that we can soon form a upstream, downstream, and midstream ecosystem so as to provide a better living environment for residents. I am a member representing New Territories North. I hope the funding to be injected could be transformed into the well-being of our residents. We need transparent mechanism for the NM project. The government should study formulating a roadmap as well as coming up with KPIs for various zones in the NM. There should also be contingency plans to mitigate risks to make sure that public funds could be made use of effectively. I also appreciate the NM Urban Rural Integration Fund pilot scheme. It's going to enhance the cultural elements of the NM. The government could draw reference from the mainland projects in terms of promoting high quality development in hundreds and thousands and tens of counties, towns, and villages. Also, we have to strike a balance between heritage conservation as well as development. Heritage conservation will help us ensure a well-being of residents. I support the building of a 15-minute living circle by including residential as well as commercial developments in the district. There should be a integrated and comprehensive complex in Kutong. There should also be large-scale sports ground in the district to further promote mega event economy in Hong Kong. This will help attract organizers to stage international events in Hong Kong. This will also help inject impetus to the economy. On the education front, the government is going to reserve 3 plots of land in Hong Shui Kiu and other new development areas for local universities. And $10 billion will be reserved for funding for universities. I hope that there could be collaboration between industry as well as the academia. We want to reinforce Hong Kong's status as an international education hub. As we strive to develop infrastructure, we should not neglect the healthcare needs of people in Hong Kong. On the healthcare front, I think there is room for improvement. There is a plot of land in Ao Tau Mei reserved for building the new medical school, and that there will be an integrated teaching and research hospital. However, there's always a long queue in public hospitals. In Tin Shui Wai, we lack nighttime consultation service and outpatient services. There should be expenditure dedicated to expanding the public-private partnership projects. I was told by lots of residents that after the reform of the medical fee, many people are spending a lot of time on applying for medical fee waiver. Recently, I got a case involving a children that need to see various specialist doctors in public hospitals, while that child is getting disability allowance. Just by applying for the disability allowance, the child has to fill out tens of hundreds of pages of document. I hope that there could be cross-departmental sharing of data. I hope that those who are getting old age living allowance could be waived from paying for the medical fee. And also there should be flexibility when the government processes application on these medical waivers. This is not going to increase expenditure, but this will lessen the burden of the underprivileged. As we see an increase of population in the North District, there will be significant increase of healthcare demand. I hope private hospitals can work with public hospitals. Private hospitals can satisfy the healthcare needs of Hong Kong people currently living in the GBA. Also, in terms of reproductive services, private hospitals can help drive the development of new medicine as well as biotechnology. This will help enrich the number of choices in the North District. and this will also help lessen the burden of the public healthcare system in the North District. Also, I think we need more support for the middle class. Previously, for each student, there is a $2,500 grant, and for those in the grassroots, this can help alleviate their financial burden. I hope the government could reconsider rolling out this student grant. With the complex economic environment, the $2,500 will not just be a financial subsidy for families, but also will help citizens ride out the tough times with us. This will also encourage fertility. While the government develops student hostels, it should not reduce the expenditure or subsidies for students. I believe that this budget strikes a balance between prudent fiscal management as well as investment. Middle class is a major pillar of our city, so we should not neglect their needs. The government should step up support for the middle class in the budget. I hope that as the government finalizes and implements the NM development blueprint, it could take into consideration the needs of various strata of our society, so that various classes of people can share the dividends of our development, and that they could enjoy a better living environment, so that together we can build a livable city together. I so submit. Thank you. Members, I now suspend the meeting until 9 a.m. tomorrow.